Have you ever hit that sweet spot where everything's going right, doors open, and opportunities magically appear? That is what golden alignment is all about. Dr. Beth Golden loves to play in that golden space and teach others how to get there and stay there. Get ready to listen, share, and experience what golden alignment in life can look like for you. Now, here is the host of Golden Alignment, author, speaker, and coach, Dr. Beth Golden.
Hello and welcome to Golden Alignment. I am Dr. Beth Golden, and I'm here today with my wonderful guest, Darren Gregor. And for more than 20 years, Mark's intuitive insight, strategic perspective, and unwavering belief in human potential has been the mainstay of his success and resilience as an executive thought leader, consultant, and coach. Mark is well respected, yet knew at his core he was called to incorporate the missing link with executives, that of going within in order to create and serve on the outside. Mark delivers executives the no-nonsense, yet spirit-centered approach needed to get to the heart of professional breakdown and breakthrough. With a master's degree in human behavior and the recipient of the 2016 Top 100 Best Global Coaching Leaders Award, Mark is a consistent go-to resource for professionals looking to decrease stress, increase performance, and deepen overall professional fulfillment. Wow. You're awesome, Mark, but I knew that. That's why you're on the show. Thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited to have you share your experiences and wisdom with our listening audience. So let's start off and just do a little brief background about who you are. You have a personal coaching business and how that kind of morphed into this amazing opportunity and substance that you're involved with now.
Yeah, well, it's always a challenge for me to say, how do I summarize a lifetime of journey into a really meaningful share? So I have had a journey throughout my life about really being interested in what causes us to think what we think and believe what we believe. I was born with a curiosity for wanting to understand things beyond what may just be on the surface. And I experienced that throughout my childhood in my family dynamics and my friendships, my relationships. And when I entered the corporate world at the beginning of my career, and I worked in corporate for many years doing product development, marketing, sales, business management, you name it. And I worked with many different teams, small teams, large teams, domestic teams, international teams. That curiosity never left me. And I was always intrigued about, what allows us to shift from feelings of disempowerment, feelings of victimhood, and shifting more into what I believe is our truth, that we're all here to really experience the greatest joy, the greatest success, the greatest abundance, prosperity that we could ever desire for ourselves. So with that knowing and that calling that was just there with me throughout the early part of my career, about 8 years ago, I took a moment of pause. I was in between positions, and I said, what is it that I really want to start to dedicate the rest of my career and energy towards? And this really came back to me. I was like, I really want to be in the game of helping others get in their game and get in a bigger game for themselves, because the big game is the only game really worth playing in life. And so I started off, private practice, as a lot of coaches do. You get a couple clients here or there. I was very fortunate. I had a lot of clients at once, so it was a nice, easy transition. And then as business goes, is you have flow, and then all of a sudden that flow disappears for a little bit. You're like, what happened?
It's like the kink in the hose. It's like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Hold on, it doesn't just all magically keep showing up. What's the deal with that? So it's been a journey. It was a journey in my private practice for many years of having times of flow, times of not so much flow, doubts as anyone would have of, am I doing it right? Am I getting it wrong? Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But what I really was fortunate and blessed to have an awareness of always listening for the subtle wisdom that I truly believe is coming to us at all times. And throughout the course of these past 8 years, I've had these moments where I've heard that inner voice saying, be still, expand your possibilities, look beyond what you're currently thinking or seeing for yourself, because there's something beyond that. And it's sometimes hard to do as an entrepreneur because you become very attached to your vision and your idea of what you think you're building. So I had this journey of giving myself that space, and it took some time, and it took a lot of journaling and meditation, but I really gave myself the space to be open to what was the bigger opportunity for me. And what unfolded in that over the past few years has been, while my private practice has continued to grow and expand, and it is great, and there's still ebbs and flows with it, I've also been able to parlay that into a partnership with a global coaching firm that works with Fortune 500 companies globally, to where now I'm not only working in an individual private practice capacity, but now I'm also working with this global firm and bringing a lot of the perspective and work that I've done in my private work now into corporate settings. So I'm doing many more corporate trainings, group programs. I'm doing a lot of executive coaching with senior executives at some of the biggest companies in the world. And it's just been a beautiful demonstration of the importance as business owners, and just in career in general, the importance of letting go of the vision we think is our path, and staying open that there may be a greater calling or a different calling that will be equally, if not more, fulfilling and successful for us when we just allow that opportunity to really show up and present itself.
I have a couple of questions. I'm going to kind of bring it around. So I'm going to go back to when you were a solopreneur with coaching clients, and you realized that you needed to be still. You listened to that inner voice that said, be still. Would you consider yourself a type A person?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, through and through.
So you had a period of a year or more where you were practicing stillness and practicing being, because those are kind of doing things, and having this expansiveness about being open to possibilities. So when you began that journey and that practice, was it challenging for you? Because, we want to create order, and we want to do programs, we want pretty flyers and websites. And so did you kind of a battle between stillness and those kinds of thoughts?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been a practitioner, a meditator, a spiritual practitioner for many years, and I don't know if it ever gets easier, but what it does get is it gets clearer. And my brain is still my brain. It still wants to be doing 10 million things at once, but I have a much greater awareness and clarity of what am I choosing from moment to moment. And I think that was a lot of the work during that time, is me being much more conscious of, from moment to moment, what am I choosing? Am I choosing the craziness and chasing and trying to force things, or am I choosing peace and allowance and really being open to something beyond what I yet see for myself?
I always we're thinking about, like, what's the word or what's the feeling that you want for this year? And for me, it was surprise and delight. So it kind of feeds into that, like being open, watching for the signs along the way, the different people you're meeting, opportunities, saying yes, if it's in alignment with who you are, and showing up. So I feel as though I am in the space that you were in. I am in that space right now. And I'm doing a lot of speaking engagements, and I'm being more focused with my message. So this kind of tickles me because I also know that when we are tapped into the universe, as you said, oftentimes the opportunities are far greater and full of blessings than we could have ever imagined for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the difference between aha moments, and you were talking about like subtle whispers pulling you or drawing you. So sometimes we create that path and want to charge down it. So how does that feel, the difference of being pulled as opposed to I'm charging ahead?
Well, let me think here. Or I shouldn't say let me think. Let me feel into that question. Because that in a certain way, that actually kind of does speak into the question. So when we think, we're operating with our mind, with our intellect. And our intellect only serving once our heart has been aligned. And what happens is we often try to move forward or charge forward towards a vision when we haven't yet first checked in with our heart and said, what is our heart saying in this moment? What is our heart needing in this moment? And, I think there's so much in the journey for me of those subtle whispers. I listened not for what made sense, but I was listening for what didn't make sense. And here's the thing that cracks the nut on the craziness of our head is our head always wants to figure it out. It always wants to understand. Mm-hmm. And the challenge with that is if we only play in the box of what our brain can understand, we're never going to experience what's beyond what yet we can see. Our truth, our big game, our greatness, the divinity within us that wants to come through fully, not within a box of what our brain can yet understand. And that only can be done through our heart. So when I had those moments over the years where I was just, really trying to listen, and I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not saying this was easy. I mean, it took sometimes many times for that wisdom or that voice to come through for me to finally be like, okay, I got it. But it was listening for it like, okay, my heart is saying move in this direction, but that makes no sense. Like, that's crazy. Why would you do that? And I can share a story about that if you want. But that's what I listen for, is where did my heart say something that my brain couldn't yet understand? Because that, in my experience, usually is the place where your biggest fulfillment and success and breakthrough really is lying for you.
Well, this is a perfect time for our first break, and then we can talk about, a story about that, and I can share a few things that I've been experiencing and needing to be willing to step out and willing to surrender to the things that don't make sense. So we will be going into our first commercial break, and we will be back with Darren Gregor on the other side.
Do you want to create change in your life based on your values? Do you want to love this experience we call life because you are living in alignment with your soul's calling? Do you want to expand your relationship with abundance and move from surviving to thriving? By tuning into Inspired Choices radio show, Golden Alignment with Dr. Beth Golden, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You'll be amazed by your golden health, wealth, love, and magical opportunities. Listen for the Golden Alignment radio show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Welcome back to the Inspired Choices radio show, Golden Alignment with Dr. Beth Golden. To participate in this program, please call U.S. 815-880-8255. Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You may also choose to comment by email by going to www.drbethgolden.com. Now back to Golden Alignment with Dr. Beth Golden.
Welcome back to Golden Alignment. I am Dr. Beth Golden, and I have a program titled Tap into Your Golden Alignment with Self-Love and Gratitude. You will remember your unique gifts and talents and realign those, because sometimes we push them aside, as Mark has been talking about. In the program, you'll then recalibrate, because when you realign, you're up-leveling and you're keeping your vibration higher. And you may find that people, places, and situations may leave you and others will come in. And so that's a place where you need support. And then being open to receiving. So all of this is a perfect segue for Mark, who is talking about looking for things that didn't make sense more than things that he could put in a linear fashion cognitively. So let's jump in there. You said our truth, our greatness, our big game is when our heart talks. And it always you made me think of like the reluctant messiahs, like Jonah. I'm not doing that. I'm not going there, Or Moses, I can't do that. I can't speak. I can't lead. And yet their spirit that's connected with God and all of us was calling them to do that. So jump right in, Mark, and share your wisdom with us on this subject.
Yeah. Well, I'll share a story. A few years ago, maybe it was 4 years ago now, I had been working with a coach of my own I was working with, and just talking about vision in life and what I wanted. And I had mentioned to him I always had this desire to live in Spain. I always had this dream of living in Spain someday. And, what a fabulous coach he was, because he called me out on it, and he said, so when is that happening? Because I was talking very much like in a long distance future. And I was like, well, I don't know, maybe in the next 5 years or whatever. He's like, how about it happens this year? And yeah. I mean, hey, a good coach is going to challenge you on what you say, right? And, I said to him, I was like, no, not possible. I have a full private practice here. I got clients. I got responsibilities, yada, yada, yada. So I was like, it can't happen. He's like, that's okay. Think about it. Sleep on it. Next session, we'll talk about more. So I did that. And this is what I typically do after I think about things a bit more. I'm like, well, it could be possible. A lot of my clients are virtual at this point. I could shift things. I could actually make this happen. I got really excited. And so next time we connect, I was like, you know what? I think you're right. I think I can do that. So I basically made this commitment, and this was like maybe around October, November. I said, okay, I'm going to make a commitment. Some point next year, I'm going to do a move to Spain, and we'll see how it goes. Something I've always wanted to do. So I made a commitment October, November. I said next summer was around the time that I wanted to move. Well, in the next 6 months, my private practice went from a thriving, successful, healthy private practice and investments that were all looking really great to I had 3 major investments all fall through, 2 partnerships fall through, and my pipeline of clients disappeared. And so I went from really cash positive to really like I could barely pay my bills. And I had this moment of like, it was like maybe April or May, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm supposed to be moving to Spain. That's what I committed to, but I'm broke. Like, and I need to save this private practice, this business I had created. Like, I can't do this. And I remember I went to the beach one day, and I meditated for an afternoon, and I said, what do you want me to do? Speaking to the universe. I was like, what am I here to do? What is this about? And I just remember in the midst of all the crazy thoughts I had of, I can't do this, now is not the time, I heard this very soft voice say, trust your decision, move forward.
Oh,
and
chills.
Yeah, because there was something in the perfection of the second I made the choice, The universe was supporting me, even though my brain could not understand how it was supporting me. Okay. Well, lo and behold, a couple months later, it was July. I had closed my office, sold my car, sold my furniture, put some furniture in storage, and got rid of my apartment. So basically, everything I had the previous year, all of it was now gone. And all I had left were 2 suitcases and a one-way ticket to Spain. And I remember I got on that flight, and my brain was like, what the hell are you doing? Going to a foreign country, foreign culture, language, no money. I was broke. I didn't know where I was going to be sleeping or staying. Because I had no plan other than I'm trusting that somehow, some way, the universe is calling me to make this walk. And it was hands down the most inspiring moment for me in my life to give myself permission to do what didn't make sense to my head, but to do and follow what my heart was calling. And in that journey, and in that journey, in doing that, I had so many extraordinary experiences over the next few months. And one of the most profound experiences, and I could speak for hours about that whole journey in that time, but one of those profound experiences I had in those next few months when I was in Spain, and just exploring and being present day in and day out, journaling, going to cafes, and didn't really have a particular vision other than just saying, how is life going to show up for me? I remember I had this moment where I was in this extremely small apartment that I was able to get for like a week. And I looked around. There was hardly anything in the apartment. It was a studio. It was like a one-room kind of apartment, very small. And I looked over. All that was really in the room were my 2 suitcases. And I looked at my suitcases and I said, those 2 suitcases is my entire life right now. All the things I've been acquiring for the past, 35 years of my life, money, cars, all the stuff that I was trying to acquire and gather and prove that I was successful was all gone. And all that's what was left in this moment was those 2 suitcases. And what was interesting, I thought in that moment when I had that realization, I would have said, oh my God, how sad or how horrible or what went wrong. I had the exact opposite reaction. I had, oh my God, thank God. All I have to worry about are these 2 suitcases. I don't have to worry about bills. I don't have to worry about clients. I don't have to worry about business. This is my entire world right now, are 2 suitcases. And the sense of freedom and power and joy I felt in that moment was so profound because it reminded me that that's what my heart has always been looking for. In all my searching in my career and my relationships, I wanted that level of freedom. And I thought that having a really successful business was going to give me that freedom. And I got in that moment, it's not the business, it's not the more that gives you freedom, it's the less that gives you freedom. And that was profound for me in that moment.
This reminds me of things. I was facilitating a class, and there was a woman who is married with kids, and she was a dancer in Poland. And she was saying just what you're saying. She goes, I used to be able to pack my suitcase and go to a city and do a show and leave. And now I have kids and houses and furniture. And she kind of longed for the 1 or 2 suitcase time in her life because it was so much simpler. Now, I wrote down, there's 2 things. I wrote down tapping into that feeling. Because when we keep our thoughts, our feelings on joy, love, joy, abundance, greatness, even though we may not see the money in our material world in the moment, it's still creating this vortex of abundance of a different kind. So share about, do you go back to that feeling? And how is your life now? Do you still consider, less is more? Because you have a really cool gig going on right now.
Yeah. Well, trust me, I'm very conscious because, right, we manifest what we think about. So I'm not interested in necessarily manifesting another 2-suitcase experience at the moment.
I've been there, done that. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. I'm good for right now, anyways. Yeah. What I do go back to, though, is the feeling of freedom. And
Okay.
I go back to that anytime where I feel overwhelmed by bills. I feel overwhelmed of like, money and finances or the business and clients and running businesses. It's always part of our conscious space. That's always going to be there for us. Whenever I have those moments of being overwhelmed, of being like, what if this or that doesn't happen in my business? I go back to remembering, no matter what, I'm going to be fine, because the worst case scenario, I end up back in 2 suitcases, I'm still free. Mm-hmm. I'm still going to be able to have that same level of joy and peace and really feeling of success, regardless of whether the business happens, the house happens, or any of that, or I'm in 2 suitcases. And that for me is everything, because life ebbs and flows. It always will. But to know that no matter what, you are abundant, you are free, you are joyful, that's the sweetness of life.
Well, and it removes fear because you've done it. You've been there. It's like, okay, and I was fine, and I was literally flying by the seat of my pants. You hear story after story of people coming to our country with, $20 in their pocket or whatever number they came and created a life for themselves. And it's living on the edge for sure, but we in the United States are very privileged, and I don't know, I'll just speak for myself. I can feel very constricted if I worry about money. And then I stop and I think, Beth, you have a great place to live. It's beautiful. You have great friends. You have a car to drive. You have food in the refrigerator. Your basics are covered and you're happy as can be. So it creates a more expansive place to launch from when you are in gratitude for what's around you.
Love that.
Let's go. We're going to go into our second break, and on the other side, I want you to share about this beautiful balance and dance between you were in private practice and now you're back in corporate, and how Spirit called you to be there as well. So we're going to go into our second commercial break, and we will pick up on that subject on the other side.
Do you want to create change in your life based on your values? Do you want to love this experience we call life because you are living in alignment with your soul's calling? Do you want to expand your relationship with abundance and move from surviving to thriving? By tuning into Inspired Choices radio show, Golden Alignment with Dr. Beth Golden, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You'll be amazed by your golden health, wealth, love, and magical opportunities. Listen for the Golden Alignment radio show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Welcome back to the Inspired Choices radio show, Golden Alignment with Dr. Beth Golden. To participate in this program, please call U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You may also choose to comment by email by going to www.drbethgolden.com. Now back to Golden Alignment with Dr. Beth Golden.
Welcome back to Golden Alignment. I am Dr. Beth Golden, and my guest today is Darren Gregor, and he has been sharing his wisdom. Mark is a corporate trainer, and he has a personal coaching practice, and it's gone full circle for Mark because he started in the corporate world, then went into this solo entrepreneurial world, And now he gets to marry the two in the most glorious way. So, Mark, if you'd be so kind as to share your company name and then share with us how this beautiful flow and this beautiful dance came about for you.
Yeah. So, well, my company name is IN, just 2 letters, IN, and that's short for inspire. And this was one of the those kind of whispers that came to me actually when I was in Spain, and I was kind of re-examining my practice and what I want to do in my career. And I said, what is it that I really want to bring forth, onto the planet and to others' experience? And the word inspire inspired me because the word inspire means in spirit. And when we're in spirit, we're limitless. It's when we really are connected to our divinity. And that's the space that I want to create within the professional career corporate world. For anyone, whether you're in corporate or otherwise, is I want to create a space where people can reconnect to their truth, to their divine truth of who they are, not as, who they are as a CEO or who they are as a director or who they are as a manager or a worker, but who they are as not even a human, but who they are as a spirit, who they are as an extension of the, the oneness of which we all come. So I really love the name and the word inspire. To me, it really speaks to exactly what I do in my work. And what was interesting in that time in Spain, it really allowed me, again, was the opening for me. That was the time where I did a lot of meditation and a lot of journaling around not what do I see, but what do I want to feel and experience, more so than the tactical, what would that look like? And I just got clear, I want to experience freedom, joy, peace, ease. Ease was a big one for me because I know how to work hard. I know how to work 80-hour weeks. I've done that. A lot of people know how to do that. I wasn't interested in that anymore. I wanted to manifest exponential, more opportunities and abundance and prosperity with half the amount of effort. And when you work in spirit, that's how it works. Spirit has no interest in working hard. In spirit, it's easy. And that's what I claimed for myself during those years. And then being able to be open to what that's going to look like, really letting go of what I thought it would look like. Because, initially I would have, of course, thought like, okay, well, I want it to be easy in the context of my practice. And I said, no, this may mean me having to let go of the idea of me having my private practice. It may mean me going back and working as an employee or working in corporate again. I had to be willing to let go of my story that I could not go back to something or I could not do this. Because when you say no, what are you doing? You're creating a limited box.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean say yes to everything if it doesn't feel right to you in your heart. But I think it's so important for us to always keep that balance. It's great to get clear of some boundaries of things that work for us or don't work for us. But always, when we approach the boundary, take a moment to go within again and remind ourselves and remember, okay, I created this boundary because of something in the past. Is that something that's still a concern for me? And I got, coming out of that experience in Spain and coming back to the U.S., and I said, you know what? I am open to wherever God needs me to be or wants me to be for me to have the experience that I want. Freedom, joy.
Okay, stop. Say that again. I want to have, this is worth repeating. I'm open to whatever God wants me to. Say it. I'm not saying it the way you said it.
I'm not sure how I said it.
And I don't know if you can repeat it when it comes through. Something like that.
So if someone's re-listening to the recording, they'll probably get 2 versions. Okay. So it was important for me to be open to where God wants me to be or needs me to be to have the experience that I want. And the experience that I wanted was peace, ease, joy, what have you. Allowed God to define where that would show up.
Okay. open to God, where God wanted you or needed you or me to be so that you can live the life that you had determined that you wanted.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. When you get clear that your fulfillment, success, joy, all that in your career is not about what you're doing. It's about the experience in what you're doing. You start to recognize that what you're doing makes no difference.
Say that again.
Mm-hmm.
I know you hate me for that. You don't hate me. You love me.
I love you for that.
I know you love me.
So when you get clear,
what you're doing.
So when you get clear, when you understand, fulfillment is not about what you're doing ever. And this is what most of my clients come to me misunderstanding. They come to coaching because they think like, help me figure out the job or the business or whatever that's going to have me be fulfilled. And I'm like, no business or job is ever going to have you be fulfilled. What's going to be fulfilled is how you experience whatever you're doing. So whether you're in, a job that forces you to work 80 hours a week, or you're in a job that you work 20 hours a week, or you have your own private practice or not, it doesn't make a difference because there's people in every kind of position and role out there who can be equally miserable and equally fulfilled. It all comes down to how you experience what you're doing, regardless of what you're doing.
And we have a choice in that experience. It's not like, oh, I'm so stressed and this is happening to me. Well, it's like you chose to work there and you chose to assume these responsibilities. You can also choose to change your attitude to a place of love, joy, peace, and gratitude, and see what happens in your world when you do that.
Exactly. Because this is where people get disempowered. They get disempowered when something outside themselves defines their experience. True power is when you define the experience regardless of what is going on the outside.
Yep. Now, I love my happy bubble. And I always laugh about that because my happy bubble, I have the friends I have, the life I have, but tend to have this same philosophy in life. So it's easy to talk about and share. So in your experience, when you go into corporate, I'm sure there's varying levels, but is this concept a big aha to a lot of people when you introduce it?
In my experience, the aha is less about like they've never thought this or heard this or have some awareness around it. The big aha is connecting this knowing they already have into their workday. Because many people have two different lives. They have their during workday life, and they show up in a certain way, and then after work they show up in a different way. And I know many, 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 many people who have amazing spiritual practices and a great sense of power outside of work. And the second they walk into their office, that all goes out the window because they're like, well, I got to be in business mode or be professional. And I'm like, no, they're not disconnected. What you see as power outside of work is the same thing that's going to give you power in your work. And that's the aha I see for most people is like what I'm sharing with them is just reminding them of what they already know, but they're not bringing it into the context of their work or their business.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that with people. So how does it morph? Do you have opportunity? I know you travel to many corporations and do trainings. So once you leave, do you have the opportunity to get feedback from people about how their attitude or perception of life has changed and what that outflowing looks like?
Well, I'll share with you, I think this is the work of anyone doing light work on the planet of some kind, is you sometimes will get that feedback and you're like, oh, good, there was some impact in what I did. Great. More often than not, you don't know. You don't know. And here's the thing. I've been surprised how many times I've done a group workshop or I've done a one-on-one coaching session that I was just like, oh, that just went horribly. No one got it. all I got was a lot of resistance. So I was just like, ugh. And usually those are the groups or the individual that 6 months, a year later will come back to me and they will say, oh my God, what you said was just so life-changing. Me, as a facilitator coach in the moment, I didn't see that. I couldn't see that for myself, but it was still happening. And I think that's so important for any coach or anyone who's doing really healing work at any level, is you have to let go of defining the success of whatever you're doing in the moment based on what people are giving back to you in the moment. Because sometimes people just need to sit with the wisdom and the aha in the moment, and then at some point it connects for them. And you got to really trust that no matter what you're doing in the moment will have a rippling effect, even if it doesn't outwardly appear in the moment.
Well, it's a sifting process, I find. You know, it's a thought, and then it kind of gets shaken down, and where am I going to put this in my life? And then how am I going to choose to live? And what am I going to choose to put in my brain? And what practice, you know, everybody's different. And I have been, I have a spiritual practice of an abundance prayer, which is in Sanskrit, and listening to multi-layered soundtracks, which is one of my things that I use with my clients, and talking about abundance and talking about we are light beings and we have to remember to fill our space with love and light. And when we do that, we're going to attract the things of like vibe. So going back, it's like you were saying, reminding people of that, having it sift through and make the choices. And I've found that they can be those little subtle choices. So I started this practice January 1st. Spirit told me, and had been telling me for years actually, that I am supposed to be teaching people about self-love so that they can be fulfilled in their lives. And for years I pushed that away, like you were saying, cognitively. That doesn't make sense. People won't want to do that. And when I finally said I give up, here I have this radio program, and it hasn't taken a big shift, but it's a shift in my website or the products and services I'm providing. And then it took another shift of like, okay, if you're telling yourself that you think you're heavy and that weight-wise, and that's inhibiting you from having blah, 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 let's do something about it. And then it's drinking more water, and then it's sleeping better. So they're not big, but they're simple, gentle, like you were saying. The Spirit wants us to be gentle and gracious with ourselves. So we are going to go into our third commercial break. And I'm not sure what Mark and I are going to talk about, but I am sure that between now and the other side, we'll definitely get something. So stay tuned.
Do you want to create change in your life based on your values? Do you want to love this experience we call life because you are living in alignment with your soul's calling? Do you want to expand your relationship with abundance and move from surviving to thriving? By tuning into Inspired Choices radio show, Golden Alignment with Dr. Beth Golden, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You'll be amazed by your golden health, wealth, love, and magical opportunities. Listen for the Golden Alignment radio show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Welcome back to the Inspired Choices radio show, Golden Alignment with Dr. Beth Golden. To participate in this program, please call U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You may also choose to comment by email by going to www.drbethgolden.com. Now back to Golden Alignment with Dr. Beth Golden.
Welcome back. I am Dr. Beth Golden, and my guest today is Darren Gregor, who is both a corporate trainer and personal executive coach. Of course, I did get a hit when we were during commercial. So I have in my notes, Mark, it wasn't a decision to, you were made a decision to create space for expansion. Your current path, which you were sharing, wasn't working, and you weren't quite sure or didn't know where or what would. But the path found you, and again, put you in a leadership capacity, which you naturally assume. So you were open to where God wanted you, whether that was as an employee or in corporate or leaving your business, and He doubly blessed you by providing both. So how did you, what are you doing with the corporate world, and how did those meetings, I look at them as attachments or strings in the universe in our matrix, or light, like, oh, I met this person, ding, and then this happened, and then there's another light. How did those connections, how was that made for the corporate part?
Yeah, so maybe just to step through that, when I was in Spain, I was just kind of creating this open space. I really didn't necessarily intend or plan to come back to the U.S. And specifically come back to Los Angeles, which is where I had been living prior to going to Spain. And I was completely open. I was like, I could stay in Spain. I could end up going to Europe, Mideast. I would go wherever I felt called. And interesting, I had an opportunity. Someone had reached out to me who runs a nonprofit here in Los Angeles. And he was saying, I know you do really good work. I'd love to have you come in and do some trainings for my team. So it really created a great opportunity for me of saying, you know what, this is something that presented itself. I don't know what's going to be beyond it. It was only a 6-month contract. But I'm going to say yes. I'm just going to follow the hit, and see where it lands. And maybe I'll end up back in Spain, but this is where I feel like I'm being called. So I came back to Los Angeles. I did that 6-month engagement, and it wrapped up as surely, as had planned. And at the end of that, it was interesting because I didn't really have okay, what's next? But what I had was, something is coming. And I remember hearing, just focus on your private practice, start doing a little bit of networking again, see who's out there. Something's going to come through because it always does. And lo and behold, what ended up happening was I joined this coaching network. It was maybe a year or two before. I joined a coaching network of global executive coaches, and I just was part of the network. I really wasn't active in the network per se. And I was talking with one of their leaders one day because I was just sharing of I'm looking for new opportunities and for subcontract work. And they mentioned to me well, we actually need some help with sales. Is that something you might be interested in helping us with, even on a part-time capacity? And at the time, I'm like, sure, why not? It's my background, it's my experience. And again, I was listening for where things were opening, doors were opening. I personally, not really a salesperson in the sense that I don't necessarily love sales. But again, I didn't want to stay in the box of saying, no, I won't do that. I really want to stay in the space of maybe this is where I need to be. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. Well, sure enough, what happens is within 6 months of me starting to do that, half the leadership team ended up leaving the company. I was really one of only a couple people left in the entire company that was doing sales, and I was asked to come on board in a more significant capacity. So I came out of a more significant capacity, and then I was invited to become part of the leadership team. And it was one of those things of, it isn't necessarily what I was looking for, but it was me being available and open to whatever would unfold. And what was great in that experience was that I really stood in, while I'm willing to walk through doors, I also want to continue to build my own private practice. And that was one requirement that I had. I said, no matter where I go, whether I'm back in corporate or not, I want to be able to still continue to build my own work. And that's exactly what has been for the past now about 3 years, is I've had this beautiful opportunity to work with this global organization doing such amazing work at a very high level executives and teams in corporate, while also still being able to build and do my work in my private practice, and doing it in a way where there's such a marriage in relationship between what I'm doing in both areas that if I went back 4 years ago when I was in Spain and I said, this is what I would be looking for, I never would have imagined it would be possible, because I wouldn't have known how to manifest it. And that's the thing with manifestation. You're not going to know. You simply have to be available for it.
I love that. And it's so cool for you to be able to look back and understand the space that you were in, and then just the amazing blessings that were set forth on your behalf, which is great. I do want to let you know we have about 3.5 minutes to the end of the show. You have shared so many amazing insights. If you wanted to give us like a summary, that would be great before we close the show.
I'll give this maybe a final thought. It is so important that we remember where our power is at any given moment. And our power is never anywhere else than within. It's within ourselves. So, I invite anyone who's listening, and I this is a practice for me every day. Constantly be looking for, where am I handing my power over to something outside myself? Whether it's a client, it's an opportunity, it's a job, it's an employer, it's a relationship, whatever it might be, or it's even a health situation. Look at where you're handing over your power, and then take a moment, breathe into that, and remember the truth that there is no one, no thing, no situation that has the authority to define your experience. You get to choose that for yourself. And as long as you know that and remember that for yourself, the path will always lead you to what's going to be your greatest good. It may not make sense at times. It may feel contradictory to what your own brain would say or what others would say. But I guarantee when you stand in your power and you return to that inner power, that sense of self, you're always going to be guided to whatever is your greatest path.
Well, thank you. That is beautiful. I was writing furiously. And it's also knowing that we are a spirit inhabiting a physical body, and we are one with the Spirit of God, so nothing can be against us. So kind of shifting that also. Nothing can be against us. And when you know you're standing in your power, it helps you create boundaries for yourself. And you can, in peace, say, you know what, that isn't going to work for me. Or no, thank you. Or, it doesn't even have to be in a set way. It's like, you know what, I need to be over here. And people just love clarity. So they go, okay, because you're being clear.
Yep.
So I think that is a very, very important point, and the perfect one for us to end the show on, is to remember that our power is within, and be thinking, where am I giving my power away or over to? And then create that space of balance. Thank you for joining us today on Golden Alignment with the marvelous Mark Darren Gregor. All of his contact information is on the Inspired Choices Network under me as the host. Take care, God bless, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Golden Alignment. Dr. Beth Golden will return next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, enjoy playing in that golden space where health, wealth, love, and magical opportunities appear in golden alignment for